Happy Monday. This is Angela with a cup of tea on Monday, July 11th, 2011. It is so exciting. What a wonderful time we're going through. So much is going on so quickly, so many changes. Change is the norm. I keep on saying that to people. Change is the norm. Change is the norm. Get used to it. It's like, we're going faster and faster and faster. Things have just sped up so tremendously, and they're just getting even more so. And it's so exciting. But that leads me right into today's topic. And I have been dealing with this in one way or another. I've been talking to people about this. I have been seeing it on the internet. I've been seeing it in emails. I've seen it on TV, all over the place, just discussions and everything. And so when this came in as the topic, I was like, am I biased about this? That because it's on top of mind. And I got no. And I tried to sort of like blank up my mind and whatever and see what else came in. But I got like about 50 different pictorials that were relative and very funny. It would take me much more than 10 minutes to explain to you. But I was like, okay, I get it. So to sum it up, I have a great quote, and I love quotes, as you've probably noticed by now. But one of my favorite quotes in the whole world is, there are many paths that lead up the mountain, but at the top we all look at the same bright moon. It is so true about what we're going through collectively right now through this spiritual awakening, this mass spiritual awakening, and we are all trying to get to enlightenment so we'll get on to my Earth 2.0 that I like to call it. And one aspect of that is the concern about feeling very isolated at the same time that you're going up the mountain with so many other people, or so many other souls. It's such a unique experience for us to be doing this because we are all going to get up there. We're all going to get there. And that's the one thing I'm sure of. But this last push of time that we're doing this is utilizing all of our individual experiences throughout this entire existence. And therefore, it's a very individual journey. Now, there are some of us who are very close souls. There are some of us who are twins. There are some of us who have others, and we crisscross with them. We have crisscrossed with them throughout existence. And so the paths are going to diverge. They're going to come together. They're going to cross over. And then, maybe go apart again. And then we get back together at the top. There are a zillion different paths. And we're all going to get there. So what's really interesting is right now we're going through this period of we're trying to take all the walls down. And yes, we are, getting back to oneness and divinity and love, universal love. And in the process, one of the learning experiences that we're having and utilizing our experiences, this is so circular, is that one of the learning experiences is to accept others exactly for who they are and where they are today, right now, as we speak. I've gotten questions from people who say, well, it can be sort of lonely and it can feel sort of isolated. And yeah, it can, because it is your own path. And there are some times when you get into conversations with others, or you have a camaraderie with others who are going through the same thing, but then have a very different perspective. Well, what happens? A lot of times the ego then gets in the way and says, I'm right and you're wrong. Well, that's sort of the opposite of where we're going. But see, this is the habit we've gotten ourselves into, because we have institutions, we have religions, we have parents, we have, I can't even think, schools, we have all, countries and politicians and all that saying that there is a right and there is a wrong. So we spent many generations putting that in between us, like I said in the last webcast, taking our divinity outside of us, putting walls around it or wedges, and like, wedges in between that say, oh no, you must listen, and, the answers are outside of you. So we're wiping that away, and at the same time, the experience that we're doing is, have we learned? Have we learned the lesson to say, you know what? We're all different, we're all taking a different path, and we're all right. That's the lesson there. And it's a beautiful one, because I have to strip away all of that we've learned, and that's a really key thing to pay attention to as we are going up those paths, taking the paths up the mountain and working on our spiritual journeys. So the key is to stay in love, to stay in respect and in love for everyone else, knowing that we are all assimilating back to that oneness and universal love. And the way to do that is to actually let us go through our individual journeys, and that they are all correct. They are all right. And it's all our personal choice. As long as the decision, it comes from within, from the higher self, and is with complete love and purity of intention, then it is the right path. Many people would debate me about that. But again, that would be who's right and who's wrong. So I love to listen to, I tell people all the time, I love listening to people telling me what's going on with them. I just love the differences. I find it fascinating, and I find it beautiful. I find it absolutely gorgeous. The differences and the uniqueness of everybody's journey. And yes, we have some stuff that's, in common, but then there's some stuff that's very different. Which then takes me to the other part of this, which is I see a lot of messages today, I'm sure you do too, about, beware of false prophets, beware of these people, fly-by-nights, and all this kind of stuff. And I actually saw something today that had said something, or yesterday, that was talking about, you must do this. Well, okay, so that sets up a red flag, because again, that is then going to the answers being outside of us instead of within us. And if somebody outside of us is saying back to us, you must, you have to, you mustn't, you can't, then what's that doing? That's actually really more what I believe that whole false prophet thing really means, because the only real prophet, the only real understanding of anyone's future is themselves, of where they're going and what their path is. And again, it's all correct. If it's from the heart, from the higher self, with universal love, without ego, then it is the correct way to go for you. So be cautious, because a lot of the ones that profess, a lot of people who say, or a lot of groups or organizations or whatever, who say, beware the false prophets, I would look underneath that and say, okay, is it sort of one of those smoke and mirrors games? Again, have we learned our lesson? Have we learned about the smoke and mirrors? And have we learned that we have to check in with ourselves instead of depending on somebody else to give us the answers? It's really powerful. And if you start thinking, it can be really sort of circular, but there is so much that's going on in the world around us. And I'm just saying that the more we depend on what's in our heart, and that the more we can tie into our higher self and check with ourselves, saying, is this right for us? Is this right for me? Is this right for me right now? Is this my highest and best and pure love and unconditional love and divinity? And, as long as it's yes, that's fine. And we must just get into the habit, and see, I just said must, right? All I'm saying is to get into the habit of becoming dependent on yourself and becoming dependent on your higher self. And again, I'm going to go back to, if you haven't watched the last video I talked about, which was talking about the ego versus the higher self, that's really the one caveat, to make sure that you're listening to your higher self and not specifically your ego, because a lot of times that is very limited. It can be limited because of the experience of the ego, and we're trying to rise above that again and utilize that experience. We're supposed to assimilate, utilize that experience, but then be able to look at things from a bigger perspective and without the emotion that the ego can give you. So Anyway, that is it in a nutshell for today. It is a very easy topic, and it is, but yet at the same time, if you think about it, it can get really circular, like I said. So between now and Thursday, again, I'm going to implore you, I think I'm going to try doing a meditation that I'm going to put up online that we'll talk about just tapping in and checking in with the higher self. But in the meantime, again, journaling, listening to your higher self, deciding that your higher self versus your ego. And we'll talk again on Thursday. Have a great one. This is Angela with a cup of tea.